Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and I got a short video for everyone today where it's going to be my September book haul. I'm trying to get all my staple videos kind of out of the way, the wrap-ups and TBRs and book hauls and whatnot, just because I'm actually uploading videos again. But I only have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books that I picked up in the month of September. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty short, nice, sweet video, except I ramble on like this. But let's just go ahead and get started. Alright, now the first 3 books are going to be books that have been sent to me by the publishers, so thank you to all of them, and I will be doing individual book reviews, and I got one already read, the third one when we get to it, so I'm actually doing halfway decent with that. But let's just go ahead and talk about The Jungle, How Tropical Forests Shaped the World and Us by Patrick Roberts. And what I've been really looking forward to with this book when I requested it is, I've read some books kind of on how do I word it? Maybe like tales of exploration in like rainforests, especially like the Amazon rainforest. But I haven't really read much of a science book, just kind of like dedicated to just the science of rainforest ecology or anything like that. And I think this book is going to deal with sort of like a blending of science and history. For example, like just kind of like how rainforest started, millions of years ago, and how they have evolved over time, covering different parts of the planet and why they are in, the ways that I guess the places they are and the way they are now, just based on like like I said, the past sort of ages of the earth and whatnot. But anyways, I think it's going to be a combination of that kind of science as well as sort of like anthropology and history of like how humans have like sort of used rainforests and the different like resources that we attain, take from rainforests and whatnot. I think there is probably going to be quite a bit of gloom and doom. I'm just guessing, just because rainforest is like one of the top ecosystems for like habitat loss and habitat destruction kind of going on, and I bet you he's probably going to deal with stuff like that and kind of talk about all the different like resources and just for example, if we're talking about just making our money's worth from like ecosystems, which is you almost gotta like talk that way to some people just to make them like realize everything still has value, even if it really should be just intrinsic. But anyways, just like all the different medicines and stuff, where I've been reading on like different things about like underwater habitats and stuff, different medicines and stuff that could be taken from different plants and animals and resources and whatnot. But we are losing so much of that from rainforests before we even know about them, which is just like I said, just a total devastating loss. So I'm hoping this book kind of like sets all of that sort of stuff into context. And it's, like I said, I think it'll be a good blend of science and history, which are my 2 favorite genres. So definitely looking forward to that one. Next up is the book I'm probably most excited for reading in nonfiction November, and it's The Arbor NEST by Meg Lomond, A Life Discovering the 8th Continent and the Trees Above Us. And Meg Lomond is like one of the founding member of the generation of like arbonauts, which are kind of scientists that study trees from being way up in the canopies, hundreds of feet up in the air, creating like different like boardwalks and things. I think she is like a National Geographic explorer in residence or something like that, because I've seen her stuff before like on the internet and whatnot. That's why I requested this one, because it just sounds super cool. I think it's going to be kind of like a biography memoir of her like kind of career and how she got to like where she was, and hopefully dealing with like all the different forests and rainforests and things that she's sort of studied and pioneered and like kind of learned along the way and whatnot. But it just sounds like a really cool occupation, being a scientist that literally just climbs trees and whatnot. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, and there's probably a lot more like hazards and things that get kind of like swept aside, because I can't imagine actually being up in a tree for like 7 or 8 hours and or stuff like at night, for example, to like study something. I don't know, it just sounds kind of dangerous and whatnot. But I'm sure like she'll kind of get into like the nuts and bolts of how it actually like works and everything. So this one is the one I'm most looking forward to in nonfiction November. Let me know if you are participating in that readathon coming up. It's one of my favorite readathon. I should say my favorite, because I do a readathon in August on history and stuff, so I probably should say, but that one should be my favorite. But anyways, anytime nonfiction gets like a good look, I'm happy. Alright, and then here is the third book is the one I've actually already finished, and it's The Secret History of Food, Strange but True Stories About the Origins of Everything We Eat by Matt Siegel. And you can see my little sticky note there, like on some of the notes and whatnot. And this was like a kind of a comedic take at a bunch of different aspects of both sort of the psychology of food, like why, for example, towards the end, why do we eat spicy foods if it really doesn't do anything for us? What is the point of it? Things like that. decision making. Why there's so many choices in like the grocery aisles and stuff. But also at the beginning that he kind of takes like deep dives at specific foods. For example, the first chapter on like American pie, like the colonial pies against like British pies and stuff was hilarious. Like he's got tons of footnotes, tons of research kind of got into it, and his like use of primary sources is just really, really superb. I can't recommend that enough as coming from like a history person. Just like the quotations he takes to kind of fill in the context and the blanks and stuff are hilarious, and I definitely highly recommend it. I will be doing like a book review of this one, hopefully in the coming few days, but definitely recommend it if you like learning about, food and whatnot. Alright, next up, it's a book I picked up, and I can't remember, where did me and Tim get I think it was Books A Million or something. It was on the $5 rag, and it's Oh Florida, How America's Weirdest State Influences the Rest of the Country by Craig Pittman. And the reason I picked it up is I lived in Florida for, I think, 10 or 11 years, and Florida is weird and goofy and strange, and totally like the opposite of where I live now in like northern Maine, climate-wise, and also like how people act and stuff. But anyways, I've also read another book by Craig Pittman, and it's Cattail, which is all about the Florida panther and sort of its fight for survival, and like kind of the history and research that's gone into the Florida panther over the past like generation or two, and kind of it's making its recovery and whatnot. But I've read a couple other books on Florida, I think, just because if I spend a whole decade of my life in that state, I probably should like learn about it, and there's plenty to learn about with Florida. Florida is like, there's a reason there's like the Florida Man account and whatnot, So I think this one's just gonna be like a funny, kind of lighthearted, just like feel good read, So that's why I picked that one up. Alright, next up are two more books that are kind of in a similar vein, because I have a kind of an idea for a project. The first one here is The Wood for the Trees, One Man's Long View of Nature by Richard Fortey. I don't know anything about it per se, except it's sort of a study of this Richard Fortey's like kind of like little plot of land, and kind of his like, just memoirs and vignettes of it over time. I have another one by Baron Heinrich, The Trees in My Forest, which sounds like a very similar one. And then the book after this one, The Forest Unseen by George Haskell, also sounds like a very similar book. But Richard Fortey is a pretty highly regarded like geologist and stuff. He wrote, I have the Photo Society version of Life by Richard Fortey, which I read like one chapter out of it, but it's a really awesome Photo Society edition, as I can't put into the slipcase without making a fool of myself. But anyways, I want to read all three of these books sort of at the same time, because they all seem to be dealing with the same, the same angle, I guess. Just like kind of like studying and like being in and learning about and just appreciating kind of like your own like little plot of land, a forest and whatnot. And me, like I said, living in northern Maine in the middle of the sticks, basically, I can definitely appreciate that. And like I said, I don't really know too much about this one, too much, but really excited to read it just because of like I said, the subject matter at hand. And then lastly, like I already said, The Forest Unseen by George Haskell, A Year's Watch in Nature. So this one's taken over the course of a year, so I'm assuming he's going to be kind of going through the seasons and whatnot. It does say it was a Pulitzer Prize finalist, which I didn't know until I started looking at it after I got it and everything. So like I said, a biologist reveals the world hidden in a single square meter of forest. So he's probably taken obviously with him, with the little hand lens and stuff, kind of a deep dive at this one, I guess not even his whole plot of land, just one little piece of his plot of, a tiny piece of his plot of land, and kind of just kind of going through time and what happens. I think a lot of things, like I said, The Forest Unseen, a lot of stuff happens almost, maybe not necessarily at the microscopic level, which a lot does still happen at the microscopic level, but just all the insects, all the different things that, people just don't notice, just walk on by, just step over it and everything. And there's a ton of stuff sort of going on. If you were to take a deep dive and just take a magnifying glass and just sit there and watch, for a year, as George Haskell probably did, there's so much you can learn. And like I said, I live in the woods. I literally basically just live in the woods, and anything kind of along those lines is a book that I'm probably going to pick up. And I want to read kind of all three of these and see if I can do something with them. I'm not 100% sure. I got a couple ideas, but there. I think that's it. That's the 6 books I picked up in the month of September. So yeah, let me know what you thought of any of these books, any of the authors, if you've read anything by them. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite book that you picked up in the month of September was. Always glad to see like what everyone else is reading and everything like that. Definitely check out all my other links, anything like that. That way, let's see what we got: Instagram, Etsy, Twitter, my other channel, tons of stuff. Anyways, I'll leave the link tree down below. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember, read victoriously.